Hello there, welcome to Tech and Cash. I hope you are doing well. So today we're going to take another look at my tournament game. I think I played this game recently, maybe more than a couple weeks ago. Hopefully there are some good insights to share from this game. So this was the starting hand, and we also have the tray. I would say from the starting hand, the birds that definitely jump out to me was the canvas bag and also the Junko. So the canvas bag allows you to gain extra card when you activate your wetland, and it has a star nest, so that's quite nice, even though you're giving your opponent cards as well. And I really like the Junko here as well, because with the Junko you can tuck cards and generate grain. So if you play in the grassland, you can lay eggs and then tuck cards that you are not going to play and then generate food out of it. And then in the tray, we also have the pileated woodpecker, which allows everyone to lay eggs in the cavity nest. Since I was going second here, I assume my opponent would pick up the pileated woodpecker because, again, it's another great bird that once you play in the forest, you can generate food and egg at the same time. So that gives you a lot of efficiency for your turns. And then in the tray, there was also the black-chinned hummingbird. So the black-chinned hummingbird allows everyone to gain a cherry from the supply. It's not the greatest. You can't just pay. You can't just cherry is not the most flexible food, but the thinking here definitely was if I play the black-chinned hummingbird and the Junko in the grassland, I could potentially generate up to 2 food when I lay eggs and then tuck cards. So that could be quite good. So no surprise here, my opponent picked up the pileated woodpecker and I got the hummingbird. So looks like, yeah, I think that was quite a good decision here to go all in with the grassland here. Typically, if you can generate food in the grassland while you lay eggs, can give you a lot of efficiency and tempo. And I guess another thing I kind of want to talk about as well, since my opponent picked up the pileated woodpecker, that means they are going to build some kind of forest with birds in the forest. So in some way, the free cherry that I give up with my hummingbird isn't worth as much to my opponent here. I wouldn't say it's always the case. Free food is always good, but I guess I can make an argument here that the cherry worth a little bit more to me than my opponent. And I missed 1 egg from the pileated woodpecker there, because I didn't want to spend food to play the canvas bag. I wanted to use the free cherry from hummingbird to play the canvas bag. And in this case, I guess you saw it. My cherry actually did help my opponent to play the flycatcher there. So I guess, yeah, that actually helped with some of their tempo as well. So that is one risk or price that you pay when you play birds that share resources. It could potentially help your opponents as well. So in this case, I have the canvas bag, I have the black-chinned hummingbird, both share resources. So I guess it would be good to think twice if I want to activate them. I think with my setup, I would definitely activate hummingbird all the time because that is my only food source. But in terms of the canvas bag, I think it can be kind of situational. But in this case, if I'm gonna play the Junko, I think the extra cards is also worth food and points for me. So I think it makes a lot of sense to activate the canvas bag here as well. But it can be quite nerve-wracking giving your opponent free cards, more so than giving them free food. At least you know what food you're giving them, but when you're just giving free card to your opponent, you have no idea. You could be giving amazing cards to your opponent, and that could help the tempo a lot. So, but at least at this point, I quite like my setup here. Again, with the Junko down, I can lay eggs to get grain and cherry. And looks like I have birds that I can play with grains. The turtle dove is quite nice. That I can get extra bonus card and resource. And my opponent played the magpie here, so basically every time I activate my grassland, the magpie allows 1 cash at the end of the round, so they gain 1 point. So that effectively reduced my grassland point generation by 1 point. So with 3 eggs and 1 tug with the jungle, that's 4 points. But since they have the magpie, so that reduced it by 1 point. So again, interesting trade here. The white-throated swift, I don't necessarily need it, but it's probably a good idea to deny my opponent that, because I'm giving away free cards from my canvas bag, and they can easily turn those free cards into tug using that white-throated swift. So I didn't want my opponent to get that. But then I also review the snow bunting. So the snow bunting is a great counter to a tugging bird. So whenever your opponent tug, you get 1 tug as well. So no surprise, my opponent pick it up here, and you tug it from your hand. So you can use the snow bunting to cycle cards as well. So that's quite powerful. But again, I would say the board still look pretty good here. I have the Cassin Finch and the Dove that can play with the resources that generate cherry and grain. So that's like the perfect scenario for me. I was tempted to pick up the Eastern Kingbird there as well, because again, I could play it with the cherry. So I think that was generally the strategy there, looking out for birds that can play with cherry and grain, because those are the food I generate from my grassland. Alright, yep, as I kind of mentioned, they just play the chickadees, so they're really building up their forest engine there, I guess, in some way. Chickadee allows them to get 1 cash, and then Pileated Woodpecker 2 eggs. Not the most scary engine for now, so that's effectively more like 2 points engine, since I also get 1 eggs. And I really wanted to get the house wren out here, because it can extend my egg spots. I do need 8 spots if I want to keep running that grassland engine here, and I like that I get 2 points from the food web expert. Pasturing manager, not the best pick up there, but I think it still work out, since I already have 3 birds, and I believe the Cassin's Finch does satisfy the pasturing managers. So alright, they draw some birds here. It's also kind of interesting the Canada Goose show up. I think in some game the Canada Goose and the Junco can certainly be a quite interesting combo there, because you tug your card on the Junco to get a grain, and then spend the grain to feed the goose, the Canada Goose, to get 2 additional tugs. So that's like a 3-point engine between 2 birds here. But I think in my case here with my board, I really needed the food to play extra birds. So I think it was quite unlikely that I would accumulate all this extra food to pay for the Canada Goose here. So yep, again, using all the free food that I can get from the osprey, the junco, and the black-chain hummingbird to play any bird that I can draw here. I think the grebe is quite nice here. Even though I was a little bit looking back, I am a little bit worried. It is at the end of round 2 to play a 0-point birds. But again, with that extra greed, I can gain extra card that help me to either tuck to feed my Junko. So that was quite a good trade from our opponent here as well, with the Trumpeter Swan and the Godwit, all big point birds. So with their forest engine, that's what they would like to see, big point birds to play. Must say I wasn't too mad with my draw there. I got the fish crow. Again, I can use the fish to pay for it, and that helped me to generate food. Another thing to consider is also the waxwing. So again, the waxwing I can tuck to generate cherry, but definitely questionable if I need that many tucking birds. Since I already have the Junko. So I think the play here is either to play the waxwing or the fish crow, but I think because the fish crow has 6 points to start with, I think it make a little bit more sense to play the fish crow here, so that I can generate different kind of food to help me to pay for other birds that I want to play. And with this engine here, it's also nice to extend my grassland all the way to the final column. That means I can exchange extra food for points or for eggs. So that would be quite nice. But effectively, my opponent has the magpie and the snow bunting, so they're gaining 2 points every time I activate my grassland and tug. So without those 2 birds, I think my engine could have been quite strong and generate a lot of points. But because of those counter, now I lost 2 points to them, and then if I activate my fish crow, that's another point as well. So it ended up being a modest, maybe 3 points engine, or maybe 2 points. I think it might be more like 2 points, because with 5 eggs I spend 1 for food. No, I guess it's 3 points. 5 eggs and 1 tug, and then minus 1 egg for food, and then 2 points from opponent. So a net gain of 3 points. Not the greatest, but in the grand scheme of things, I was generating food and points at the same time, so still quite happy with that. So now looking at the rest of my hand, really nothing really stand out aside from the Cass and Finch that could potentially gain a good bonus card. But the rest of the birds are really low points. So again, this is where birds like Junko shine, because I can just tuck all those low point birds that doesn't make sense to play and turn them into food. So that could work out quite well here. And again, with that 5th column bird, I could turn cherry that I don't need into other food using the crow. So yeah, I think at this point definitely the plan is to play the Cass and Finch, and then if I need more card, the Stilt would be a good birds to pick up any birds from the tray without going back to the wetland. It looks like that's what I was preparing it for. And the Stilt was nice too, because I had the Food Web Expert, so I gained 2 additional points from playing the Stilt. And you I guess you can kind of tell the house rent kind of make a difference here. With the extra 5 egg spots, really allowed me to, safely run this grassland engine till the end of the game without worrying about running out of egg spots. So With now about 6 turns remaining, I really don't anticipate other activation other than the grassland and playing birds, because I can tug 3 more cards, and then with the still I can pick up 2 more. And again, my opponent just keep finding counters to my engine here. Now they play the golden eye, the golden eye, which allows him to gain 1 egg every time I lay eggs. So again, that effectively reduce my grassland point gaining, by 1 point. So now I'm making maybe 2 points every time I activate my grassland here. So definitely not what you want to see when you're running a strong grassland engine. I guess that's also a good showcase, in the case where when a lot of people, I mean, there's no denial that grassland is such a strong engine and strategy in Wingspan, but with the right counter, for example, the pink power and the teal power, you can build a good counter to it. But again, like it's contingent to whether you can draw those cards as well. And I think I play the stilt there to pick up the kite, because I got the omnivore. So I wanted that kite just for save points, I guess, that I can gain. What else am I looking at? I think it would be nice if I can get the red IV reel as well. I think that might help me with my pass stream manager bonus card. Something like maybe play the red IV reel and the Vox with. Again, now that my engine is down to 2 point, I think I was contemplating whether to activate the wetland again or just be happy with the birds I have and lay eggs until the end of the turns, and maybe play the kite. I mean, looking back, I don't think that was much option other than just lay eggs for the rest of the turns, unless I'm missing something here. Because going back to the wetland to draw cards, that's 0 point, and I don't necessarily need all the birds. So yeah, I think going with the grassland was the safe choice here. Must say my opponent board was looking pretty good as well. First of all, they have all the counter to my grassland engine with their pink power and teal power, and at the same time they also have quite a few big point birds. That's gonna help them, rack up quite a bit of points in terms of bird points. But I have a feeling maybe it would be a close game, just because I've been running the grassland since the very beginning of the game. There was a lot of efficiency that built into that. And they went drawing cards in the end, near the end of round 4 as well. That's typically not ideal, especially for them not generating any points in the wetland. So might be a close game. They did have a lot of cash from their chickadee and also the magpie caches. And I guess I had a lot of low point birds as well. So I'm definitely not making a lot of points from bird points. I can see most of my points are coming from eggs. I definitely have more eggs. And maybe bonus card. Alright, play the Dick Sizzle. Looks like that might be the deciding to help them to win the end of round goes there for birds with tuck cards. haven't been paying attention to the end of round goes there. I think I won the first one, but yeah, it looks like the game could go both way. Feeling pretty good about the efficiency of my board, but at the same time, our opponent has a lot of caches and tug and big point birds, so we will see. Alright, last turn. Again, I guess even for the last few turns here, my opponents are making quite a bit of points because they are turning food into eggs, and then with the dig sizzle tugging, that was like a 6 points, 6-point gain, while my grassland was down to 2 points. So I guess in the late game, every activation of grassland by my opponent was equivalent to more or less like 3 activation of my grassland. So I can see that could really help them to catch up with the points here. So alright, here we go. That was the game, and point counting. Again, I don't quite remember this game. I have a feeling it gotta be quite close, but let's see. Oh yeah, all the caches and the tugs. Wow, that was the 6-point difference there. Not quite enough. From the grassland engine here. Yeah, I think all the pink power and the teal power that my opponent played really was the key there to counter my grassland engine, which ended up racking enough points to help them to win the game here. So again, good game overall. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next one.